Let me ask you something personal, but important. If you're over 60 and you still masturbate, is that a bad thing? Should you be concerned? Is it something to feel ashamed of? Or could it actually be a sign that your body, your mind, and even your spirit are still very much alive? Now, I know this isn't the kind of thing you bring up casually over lunch with friends. It's one of those quiet, private parts of life that so many older adults carry alone, with questions that often go unanswered. But here's the truth. If you've ever found yourself wondering, is this still okay at my age? Or maybe you've felt confused, a little embarrassed, even guilty about still having desire, still feeling touch, still needing release. You're not alone, and you're not broken. You're human. You see, we've been told for so long that sexuality has an expiration date. That after a certain age, especially past retirement, you're supposed to just stop feeling that way. But that's not how the body works. That's not how the heart works. And it's definitely not how real people like you work. This matters deeply. Because how you connect with your own body in your later years isn't just about sex or pleasure. It's about self-awareness, emotional wellness, physical health, and sometimes it's about healing parts of you that never had a safe place to be explored before. In this video, we're going to talk about something most people your age have been dying to understand, but were too afraid to ask. I'll walk you through 5 essential truths about masturbation after 60. What's completely normal? What could be a quiet signal that something deeper needs your attention? And how this topic is linked to your mental, emotional, and even spiritual well-being in ways you may have never considered before. This isn't just a health talk, it's a life talk. So if you've ever wondered whether you're the only one feeling this way, if you've ever questioned what's going on in your body or mind, stick around. You might leave this video feeling a little lighter, a little more understood, and a whole lot more confident in who you are today. Comment still learning if you believe that health, real, full health, includes every part of you, even the parts we don't usually talk about. And if you're new here, welcome to Flourish After 60. This is where we have honest, judgment-free conversations about living your best, healthiest, and most empowered life after retirement. So go ahead and tap that subscribe button, because we're just getting started. Key point number 1, masturbation is normal at any age. All right, settle in, take a slow breath, and let's walk into our first big truth together. You're sitting with a cup of tea, maybe the television murmuring in the background, when a familiar feeling rises, nothing drastic, just a gentle warmth, a reminder that your body still notices itself. You wonder if you should ignore it, push it down, or let it be. And that question alone can come with a flood of doubt. Imagine Margaret, she's 72, graying curls tucked behind her ears, the proud matriarch of 3 grown children and a tangle of grandkids. One afternoon, she leans across her kitchen table to a longtime friend and whispers, "Some nights I still want to touch myself. Is that odd?" Her voice trembles because she carries a quiet shame, the kind society hands out to anyone over a certain age who dares feel desire. Yet beneath that whisper is a plea for simple reassurance. Am I normal? Here's what Margaret and maybe you need to hear. Yes, you are beautifully, gloriously normal. From a purely biological view, masturbation is a natural extension of how your body maintains balance. It's like stretching stiff joints or massaging a tense shoulder. For many older adults, it's the safest, most private avenue to stay in tune with sensations, especially after a divorce, after the loss of a partner, or when arthritis makes partnered intimacy tricky. It can ease stress hormones, release endorphins, and even help you drift into deeper sleep. Your body doesn't punch out at 65, it keeps communicating in pulses, shivers, and quiet signals. Listening to those messages isn't indulgence, it's attentive self-care. Yet the world still clings to a tired myth that libido packs its bags once the first pension check arrives. You might have heard people joke, at our age, we're past all that. But data and real-life stories paint another picture. Plenty of folks stay interested well into their 70s and 80s. Bodies age, curiosity doesn't retire. Desire might ebb and flow, but it rarely vanishes altogether. So if you've caught yourself believing you shouldn't feel this way, remember, should is often someone else's fear wearing a fancy suit. What can you do right now? Give yourself permission. If touching yourself brings comfort, relaxes tight muscles, or simply helps you feel alive in your own skin, embrace it without apology. Choose a setting where you feel safe, soft lighting, warm sheets, maybe calming music. Treat the moment the way you would a soothing bath or a mindful walk. Slow, respectful, free of judgment. Of course, healthy doesn't always mean harmless in every circumstance, and that leads us toward another layer of this conversation, times when urges might be pointing to something deeper. So stay with me, because understanding the difference could spare you unnecessary worry and guide you toward greater peace of mind. Key point number 2, excessive masturbation might reflect underlying issues. Now, picture this for a moment. You wake up, make your coffee, flip through the morning news, and before you even finish that first sip, the urge hits. You satisfy it quickly, almost on autopilot. A couple hours later, it nudges you again. By late afternoon, it's back, not because the sensation is thrilling, but because there's an empty hush inside the house you're trying to fill. That's exactly where James found himself. He's 68, recently retired, living alone since his wife passed 3 years ago. At first, self-pleasure was an occasional comfort, something private that helped him let go of tension before bed. But slowly, quietly, the pattern changed. One time a day turned into 3, then 5. He wasn't chasing joy. He was chasing distraction. Boredom sat heavy on his shoulders, loneliness whistled through the hallways, and anxiety about the future kept tapping on the window. Masturbation became less a choice and more a reflex, a quick fix that left him feeling empty the moment it was over. Here's what's happening beneath stories like James. When sexual behavior slips from intentional to compulsive, it often points to something deeper than desire. Emotional pain, grief, unresolved childhood wounds, or the shock of losing a longtime partner can create an ache that screams for soothing. Cognitive decline, early changes in brain chemistry, sometimes linked to mild cognitive impairment or certain medications, can lower impulse control. Unmet social needs. Retirement can shrink daily circles. Touch becomes scarce. Sometimes the only reassurance your nervous system recognizes is self-stimulation. A lot of folks shrug and say, it's just a habit, harmless. But habits serve functions. And when that function is to paper over sadness, fear, or trauma, the real issue hides in plain sight. Think of compulsive masturbation like constantly turning up the radio so you don't hear a leaking faucet. The noise masks the drip, but the leak keeps widening the crack. So how do you tell the difference between healthy routine and unhealthy compulsion? Start simple, keep a feelings journal. Before you touch yourself, jot a quick note, feeling restless or feeling lonely after phone call with kids. Right after, note how you feel again, relaxed, guilty, numb, satisfied. Do this for a week. Patterns will leap off the page. Am I soothing fear, dodging sadness? If the urge feels urgent and the relief fleeting, that's a clue you're medicating emotions rather than enjoying intimacy. Next step, talk out loud to someone you trust. Maybe that's a lifelong friend, a counselor at the local senior center, or your primary care provider. Saying, I think I'm using this to avoid feelings, lifts the weight off your chest and invites solutions. Grief support groups, hobby clubs, gentle exercise classes, even short-term therapy. Remember, reaching out doesn't brand you as broken, it proves you're paying attention to your own well-being. And please release the judgment. You're not weak if you slip into compulsive patterns. You're human responding to stress the way brains naturally do. The victory isn't pretending it isn't happening. The victory is noticing it is happening and choosing a healthier path. Take a moment now. Ask yourself, do I feel in control of when and why I touch myself, or does the urge boss me around? Honest answers give you the power to shift. Because here's the bigger picture, masturbation isn't just a physical act. It's tied to your emotional climate, your mental habits, and even your sense of purpose. And that realization leads us to an even more profound layer, how this private routine intertwines with your overall emotional well-being and self-worth. So keep that journal close, keep your heart curious, and let's step into that next layer together. Key point number 3, the emotional side of self-touch. Picture Maria, 65, silver hair tied back in a loose braid, wedding band still hugging her finger even though her husband passed last winter. One evening she's folding his favorite flannel shirt when a sudden longing spreads through her chest, part ache, part curiosity, part simple yearning for touch. Later, alone in bed, she lets her hand glide over her skin. Instantly a wave of guilt rises. Is this a betrayal? Her heart thrums with memories, first dances, shared laughter, quiet Sunday mornings. She stops, tears in her eyes, and whispers into the dark, "I'm sorry." Maybe you felt that same tug of war, desire on one side, devotion on the other. And here's the truth. Self-touch is never just physical. It's a doorway to memories, spirituality, even grief. Your fingertips can awaken images of youthful passion or the steady comfort of a long marriage. They can summon questions: am I still lovable? Do I still belong to someone? Do I still belong to myself? Many of us grew up hearing intimate acts labeled sinful or dirty, warnings carved into our minds by strict churches, hushed family rules, or society's favorite double standards, especially for women. Those messages cling like burrs, convincing you that wanting pleasure after a spouse dies is disloyal, or that enjoying your body at 70 is somehow undignified. Yet those beliefs are echoes from another era, not laws of nature. Your body's need for warmth, comfort, even release, doesn't shut down because a calendar page turns or a beloved partner is gone. In fact, gentle self-touch can be part of healing, an acknowledgement that you are still here, still deserving of tenderness. So here's your permission slip, signed by biology, psychology, and basic human kindness. Feel what you feel. If longing shows up beside sorrow, let them sit at the same table. Hold space for both without judgment. Try this before you begin. Place a hand over your heart and say softly, "I honor my memories and I honor my living body." Afterward, breathe and notice any emotions that surface: comfort, bittersweet nostalgia, maybe relief. Write them down. Observe them like clouds, real, but passing. There's no gold star for denying need, no medal for pretending you're stone. There's only the quiet power of self-awareness. And as you grow more honest with yourself, you'll notice another layer: how these intimate moments ripple through your physical health, your heartbeat, your blood pressure, even the quality of your sleep. So let's turn the page together and look at what your body might be trying to tell you next. Key point number 4, physical health considerations. All right, let's shift from emotions to biology for a moment, because your body is always giving you clues. Picture David, 74. A retired electrician who still fixes the neighbor's porch light when it flickers. One evening, while enjoying a private moment, he feels a faint tightening across his chest, more pressure than pain, but enough to steal the breath from his lungs for a second. He pauses, hopes it's indigestion, tells himself, "I'm fine," and carries on. A week later it happens again, this time with a flash of dizziness. That's when fear finally kicks in. David sees his doctor and learns his blood pressure has been climbing quietly for months. Those little episodes were the heart's polite way of waving a red flag. Now here's what's important: any sexual arousal, solo or partnered, ramps up heart rate, blood flow, and releases a splash of dopamine and oxytocin. For most healthy adults, this mini workout is perfectly safe, even beneficial. But if plaque has been building in an artery, or if blood pressure stays high, the sudden surge can unmask problems you didn't know were brewing. It's not the cause of the issue, it's the flashlight shining on it. A common misconception says, if something feels weird, just push through. Everybody gets a little winded. Not so. Your body whispers before it screams. If you notice dizziness, chest tightness, numbness in the arm or jaw, or lingering fatigue afterward, that isn't shameful. It's data. Think of it like a dashboard warning light. You wouldn't keep driving your car on a flashing oil signal. You'd pull over and check the engine. So here's a practical check-in you can start tonight. After intimacy, place 2 fingers on your wrist and count your pulse for a full minute. Note how quickly it returns to your usual resting rate. Pay attention to any unusual sensations: fluttering heart, shortness of breath that lingers, sudden headache. Jot it down in the same journal you've been using for emotional patterns. Over a week, you'll see trends. If anything feels off, even once, call your healthcare provider. Say, "I felt X during arousal and Y afterward." You're not being dramatic, you're practicing preventative care. And remember, this isn't a sign to quit intimacy forever. Most doctors encourage safe sexual expression because it boosts mood, immunity, even pelvic floor strength. The goal is simply to listen. Adjust position, pace, or timing if needed. Stay hydrated and make sure chronic conditions like diabetes, hypertension, or arrhythmias are well managed. Think of it as tuning an instrument. The music is sweeter when the strings are set just right. All of these layers, physical signals, emotional honesty, compassionate self-talk, intertwine. Yet there's one more thread we haven't pulled. The deeper, often overlooked spiritual and identity aspect of intimacy in later life. Because beyond flesh and blood, touch can become a quiet prayer, a reclaiming of self. So let's turn toward that final, profound layer together. Key point number 5, rediscovering self-compassion through intimacy. Close your eyes for a second and picture Carol, 70 years old, a retired nurse who spent 4 decades pouring her energy into caring for everyone else. She raised kids, soothed fevers, calmed frightened patients in midnight wards. When she finally stepped away from the hospital, she looked in the mirror and saw hands lined from years of service, hips that once rocked babies, and a body shed trained to stand last in line for comfort. In her mind, worth was measured by what she did for others, not by how gently she treated herself. One afternoon, in a mindfulness class down at the senior center, the facilitator asked everyone to place a hand on their own cheek and simply breathe. No goal, no outcome, just awareness. Carol felt a spark of warmth spread under her palm. Something clicked. Maybe these aging bones still deserve tenderness. That night, in the hush of her bedroom, she let her fingers drift across her skin with no agenda, no haste, just curiosity. It wasn't about chasing heat. It was about whispering, "You matter too." A tear rolled, equal parts grief for lost years and relief for the moment she finally came home to herself. That's the invitation for you today. Masturbation can be more than release. It can be a quiet meditation. Each breath, each gentle stroke reminds you that after a lifetime of schedules and service, your body belongs to you first. It's a reclamation, an act of saying, "I still live here. I still command kindness." Yet society often stamps intimacy with an expiration date. Commercials spotlight youthful passion, romance novels end at the altar, and elders are cast as spectators. The myth whispers that personal pleasure is improper once the hair silvers or once a partner passes. But intimacy isn't a stage reserved for couples or for springtime bodies. It's a universal language your nervous system speaks from birth until your final exhale, a language of warmth, connection, and yes, joy, even when you're alone. So here's a gentle practice to treat self-touch like you would a comforting ritual. Dim the lights, play music that calms you. Maybe add a drop of lavender oil to a warm cloth. Let your hands move slowly, the way you'd soothe a child or stroke a beloved pet. Notice textures, the softness of your abdomen, the strength still humming in your thighs, the reliable rhythm of your heartbeat. Pause often. Breathe deep. If desire builds, let it rise and fall like waves without forcing anything. If all you feel is calm or a simple sense of presence, that's beautiful, too. This isn't about chasing fireworks. It's about honoring the whole constellation of sensations your body still offers. Remember, self-care wears many outfits. Some days it's a long bath. Other days it's holding your own hand through a memory. Today it might be tender exploration of places you forgot could sing. None is lesser, none is shameful. Take stock afterward. Do you feel grounded, comforted, softly awake? If guilt pops up, greet it with kindness. I see you, old script, but I'm writing a new one. Because every gentle touch that says I'm worthy rewrites decades of messages that said otherwise. And that, dear friend, steers us to the very core of this conversation, the unspoken emotional truth so many of us carry in silence, the place where shame and longing and courage collide. Stay with me, because what comes next might just lift a lifelong weight from your shoulders. Let's be honest. Talking about sex, especially after 60, isn't easy. You may have carried this quiet discomfort for decades. You might still hear old voices in your head. That's not ladylike. At your age, just focus on your grandchildren. And yet, here you are. Curious, reflective, maybe even a little nervous watching this video. But here's what I want you to hear in your heart, not just your ears. This isn't about taboo. This is about truth. About honoring every part of your humanity, not just the parts that others are comfortable with. You've lived a full life. You've given, sacrificed, endured. You've held people when they cried and stood tall when your own knees wanted to buckle. And now you are allowed to turn inward and listen to your own needs without apology. Your body is not broken. Your desires are not dirty. They are signals of your aliveness. They are echoes of your spirit saying, I still belong to this world. I still feel. I still matter. When you choose to pay attention to these signals, to explore them with honesty, compassion, and care, you're not being selfish. You're practicing self-respect. You're saying, I'm worthy of comfort. I'm worthy of love, even if it starts in my own hands. So I want you to take a moment today just for you. Find a quiet spot, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, have I been honest with myself about what I need, about how I feel, about what I deserve? This isn't about whether you choose to touch yourself or not. This is about facing the truth you may have buried under decades of service, silence, or shame. And if you're feeling uncertain right now, if your heart's beating a little faster, or your throat's tight, or your eyes are brimming just a bit, that's okay. That means something inside you is stirring. That means you're alive. You're not alone. You are not too old, and you are not wrong for wanting to feel connected, emotionally, physically, spiritually. You are simply human, and that is beautiful. Let's take a breath together. To recap, here's what we explored today. Masturbation is normal at any age. It's part of being human, not something to outgrow. Two excessive urges might be signs of something deeper, emotional pain, loneliness, or unresolved grief. 3. It's not just physical self-touch can unlock memories, bring up emotions, and help us process grief or longing. 4. Your body speaks through pressure, fatigue, or comfort. Listening can protect your health. 5. And finally, self-touch can be self-love, a tender way to honor the body that's carried you through a lifetime. If any of this resonated with you today, you're not alone. We're creating a space here for honest, compassionate, real talk about what aging actually looks like, not just on the outside, but on the inside. Have you ever struggled with how to feel about intimacy or desire as you've gotten older? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Respectfully, let's support one another. Let's normalize this conversation that has stayed in the shadows far too long. And if this video made you feel seen, if it gave you comfort or clarity, please click that like button. It helps others find this space. And don't forget to subscribe to Flourish After 60 for more compassionate, shame-free conversations about aging with grace, honesty, and bold self-love. You deserve joy. You deserve peace. You deserve to flourish, mind, body, and soul. Until next time, take care of yourself. And remember, you are not done growing. See you in the next video.